Hi, I'm Vondi and I'm the lead pastor at Cross Point Church in Beckley, West Virginia, and thank you so much for coming and being a part of Point Serve. Point Serve is a monthly podcast that we here at Cross Point do our best to get out to you to help increase your leadership influence, whether you are operating in a sacred space or in the marketplace. We are doing our very best to help you understand leadership in a little different way so that you can have the greatest influence for the kingdom of God and for the people that you are working diligently to serve and to help. And we've covered a number of topics, and right now we're talking about different types of leaders and what that looks like and why that's important and the things that we need to understand. We also need to remember that 2,000 years ago, our God understood leadership. Even before that, he understood leadership. But when the New Testament was being written, Romans 12, 1 Corinthians 12, and Ephesians 4 talk about different types of leaders. It talks about different types of people, and as a leader, you are going to have to lead all kinds of different personality types. You're going to have to work with different kinds of people, and they are going to need your guidance as you try to help them. And one of the things that we've worked with here at Crosspoint is to take 4 different personality types and to give them West Virginia animal names so that we can hold on to those and we can work with those. And it just gives us a picture of how to piece those things together. And when you think about leadership, God has chosen people to lead not only in, again, the sacred space, but also in the marketplace. There are people that he has put in place in government locations so that they can work with people and to do the very best job possible to serve those around us. And if you're going to be a good leader, if you're going to be a leader that God can use, understanding this and being able to work with people is essential for you to be able to have the greatest amount of influence where you are and with the people that you are desiring to have influence with. Here's one thing that we forget, though. The people that we lead are different, and every leader is different. There is not a cookie-cutter process that every leader looks a certain way or even moves a certain way. Leaders function based on how they are wired, but not everybody is wired the way we are. If they were, then they would look at life the way we do, and the world would be, I would say the world would be a very boring place at that time. Yet, because you are in a leadership position, God has placed you somewhere to work with people who are different. And in that, you have to work to value the differences. You have to see value in how they are different from you. We talked about this last month, and I wanted us to review that just a little bit, because if we develop an awareness as to how they are different from us, then we can better communicate and influence and work one with another. And when we develop an appreciation for the way they look at things, it helps us see things from a little different perspective, because growth is always change. Growth is always moving forward. Growth is always you and I trying to see how we can work to move the organization that we lead another step further. But if I'm not willing to value somebody else, if I'm not willing to hear what they have to say, if I'm not willing to see that, if I'm not willing to maybe spend a little bit of time to figure out just how they process and think, then I will never be able to see the value that they can bring to me, that they can bring to the organization, that they can bring to the people around them. And so as you and I are leading, as you and I are working through all of this, we need to understand the different personality types. Last month we talked about the raccoons. Raccoons are the life of the party. They're the ones that when you come in, you know they're there. And everybody can spot them. And they are a lot of fun. People are drawn to them because of their personalities. That's one type of leader that you as an influencer will be working with. But the second type is what I call the beaver, a beaver. And when you think about a beaver in nature, these are the builders. These are the ones that can look around and say, all right, we can dam up this stream at this particular place, and it's going to create a safe environment for us to build our den and to raise our young and to take care of what is needed to be done in the life of the beaver. And so as a leader, if you've got beavers that you're working with, these are people who will be long range. They are people who will study. They are people who will look to see what's maybe coming or what they've just experienced and how they can keep from experiencing that. If it was negative or if it was positive, how can we recreate that? How can we walk our way through it so that we can look at that? Now, when you're wondering what a beaver looks like, I don't know if you've ever seen the nature shows to watch the beavers, but sometimes if they're resting and they're not working and they're not gnawing down trees the way that they do, they will be cleaning themselves. Beavers are very neat and tidy in nature, and if you are leading people who have a beaver personality type, one way you can spot them is they're neat, they're tidy, their desks, their workspace, their toolbox, no matter where they are, it's always going to be neat and tidy. I have a cousin of mine who, growing up, he was this personality type. I am more of a raccoon in a lot of ways. And so raccoons like to kind of poke a little bit at the beavers, just a little bit. But he would have his desk at his house and in different places, he would have it a certain way. And everything had to be turned a certain way. It had to look a certain way. And what I would do is I would just sneak by and I would just turn one little thing on his desk 180 degrees the other way. Would absolutely drive him crazy. And I would just giggle all the way home. And I know that drove him crazy. But you see, if you're going to lead a beaver, you can't do what I did to my cousin. You have to make sure that you recognize what traits that they have and the way that you can feed into them and how you can lead them with that. Just like the raccoons were very colorful in what they would wear typically, beavers are extremely conservative in their dress. They really don't want a lot of attention drawn to them. They are more of the nuts and bolts people making sure that it gets done. Beavers typically are not car salesmen. They are the people who make sure all of the paperwork is done and every line that needs to be signed is done and all of those pieces. You see, the reason raccoons need beavers is that without the beavers, the raccoons would never be able to get paid, number one. But they would never be able to get to where they really want to be because it's those beavers that tie pieces together. There are people on my staff right now that I work very closely with, and they are beavers. And I know sometimes I absolutely drive them crazy because I'm the one that says, there's the mountain, let's go do it, or there's the video, let's go make it. And they have to come along and make sure everything is in place and everything is ready. You see, those beavers are so important to every organization because without them, certain very important things get overlooked in the process. And if you as a leader don't understand their value, you will see them as a stumbling block. You will see them as a problem for you. You will see them as someone who wants to always rain on the parade of everything that's going on. And that's not their aim nor their desire. Their aim and desire is to make sure that what we're doing and how we're building and where we're moving keeps us going forward. And making sure that nothing does not get lost in all of that process. So if you're going to effectively lead a beaver, you have to be extremely sensitive to their need for order and their need for process. Beavers really want process. They need to know how to function. It's so important for them not to just fly by the seat of their pants. They're not comfortable with that at all. I remember many years ago, we had a fella here at the church that helped, he was the treasurer. And we had a person come in to help us with a missions emphasis where we took pledges, and he asked for all of the pledges to be brought up to the front at the end, and he asked for that person who was the treasurer to sit over in the corner on the side of the stage on the steps to count all of that real quick and give us a total. And that person was a Beaver. And while they did it, and while they made sure that as best that they knew at that moment the numbers were right, they were so uncomfortable with that process. As you lead Beavers, pay great attention to process. As you lead them, make sure that you show a sensitivity to their need for order and their need for things to be in a way that they can know what's coming next. Because if you don't, you will run into a whole lot of problems with Beavers. You will run into a whole lot of problems with them. And at times as a leader, you have to go around the order and you have to go around the process. Those are legitimate moments occasionally, but not consistently. Because you need those Beavers who will make sure the doors are locked, make sure the keys are where they're supposed to be, make sure that the accounting is done exactly like it needs to be, so that when you need answers as the leader, they can give that to you. Raccoons are great, and Beavers are great, but they are two totally different personality types that as you influence them, you have to value who they are and be able to let them function and operate in their strengths. And as the leader, that's what we all try to do, is to put people in places where they are strong, because that's when they will be the most effective for any organization that we lead. Thank you so much for being a part of Point Serve this month. We pray that as you are listening to this and you're looking at your own personality and the people that you lead, that this will help you be a better influencer where you are. We would love to hear from you at pointserve@beckleycrosspoint.org. If you could just kick us an email, let us know that you're listening. But really what helps us is when you listen to us on YouTube, if you will go and make sure you like that and share this on your feeds on other social media. If you can do that, that really helps us to be able to get a broader audience to Point Serve. Thank you so much. Again, my name's Vondi, and I am so glad that you chose to be with us this month. Be a better leader by knowing the people around you. Thank you so much.